Welcome to CivilNet. My guest from Denmark is Matthias Bjørnlund, who is a historian of genocides, Assyrian, Armenian, and someone who's familiar not just with the history of these difficult issues 100 years later, but also the politics that makes the historiography difficult. Matthias, thank you for joining us on CivilNet.
Thank you for having me.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
And right back at you.
We see the tree in the background there. I know we're taking you away from that, but this has been a topic that has been of surprise to us in many ways. We're going to talk about the fact that an exhibition on the Scandinavian involvement in the Armenian Genocide years has been taken from Yerevan first to Copenhagen, and then, as I understand it, to Sweden and Norway. And
yes, first to Sweden, yes.
To Sweden next. And in the midst of all this, it's become a political issue because the Turkish government has asked for a parallel exhibition. So I have a bunch of questions. First of all, is this really a political issue that could have been avoided? Is it something that perhaps they didn't realize would open up such a huge storm?
Well, that can of worms. Well, according to the director of the Danish Royal Library, it was his decision and his decision alone. Whether this is true or not, I don't know. Whether it was after consulting with the Turkish embassy or the Danish Foreign Ministry, I have no idea. But he claims that it was his idea. And if that is true, I doubt very much that he could have foreseen this can of worms that he opened when he decided, if it was his decision, to have this parallel exhibition, Turkish Denialist exhibition.
There's two issues there. One of them is that history be represented as it happened and not revised the way it is in Turkey. The other issue is that this is something about which the Scandinavian involvement has been really serious, sincere, and deep. What is the sort of reaction in Denmark, in Copenhagen, to this political controversy?
Well, it's interesting because we have a history in Denmark of these controversies. I was involved in one in 2005 in connection with a sort of event about the Armenian Genocide, and there we went out, me and a colleague went out to protest against some revisionist elements, and at that point we got no support whatsoever. But I must say that in 2012 we have a lot of support. Actually, the director of the Danish Royal Library is pretty isolated in this case. I mean, there's been a lot of support and protest against his decision from, for instance, Danish Kurdish organizations, very much so, and politicians. So there's something new here.
The response is new.
The response is new. I mean, we went, me and my colleague, we went out to once again protest against this, and we kind of expected really no support whatsoever. We've gotten a lot, I must say. That has been a positive surprise this time.
Organically, how is this linked to whatever will take place in Sweden? Now that there is this precedent, does it make it harder for Sweden to reject the second exhibition?
No, the exhibition has been to Sweden already, to my knowledge, and those who were behind this exhibition in Sweden, they have also been interviewed in the Danish media, and they said they would never contemplate having anything like a Turkish counter-exhibition or something like that. So it's a very Danish thing right now. But of course, what may worry some is that a precedent is being made up here to those very crucial years up until 2015, the 100 years after the Armenian Genocide, the beginning of the Armenian Genocide. So of course there's a lot of worries about whether this will create a precedent that now the director of the Danish Royal Library has kind of created this opportunity for the Turkish embassies everywhere. Up until 2015 to have their point of view represented.
And it's odd that it's a librarian that has created this, somebody who's supposed to be dealing with archives and documents as they are.
Not just any librarian. I mean, the director of the Royal Library in Copenhagen, which is sort of supposed to be the sublime research organization in Copenhagen.
Are there other historians who are engaged in the debate? Because at the end of the day, truly, this business of states rewriting history is something that's going to be a huge problem in the decades to come, because they can.
Yeah, sure. Yes, other historians have been involved. I would say mostly they would have supported my viewpoint, which is critical of the director of the Royal Library. I must say that, for the record, I'm a free speech fundamentalist, so I have no problems with the Turkish embassy having all the exhibitions that they want. I just don't think it should be on, let's say, the Danish Royal Library, which should represent the best within research. And a denialist exhibition would be not the best, but the worst within research. So why have that? I mean, they can pay for it themselves.
Tell us a little bit about the essence of the exhibition itself. When we talk about the Scandinavian involvement, really what I remember is the presence of missionaries who were not just simply there during the events, but especially afterwards, the orphanages, directing the orphanages, and most of all, writing about their memories. What is there in this exhibition?
I mean, the original exhibition, which was made by the Armenian Genocide Museum and Institute, I helped a bit creating that exhibition a couple of years ago. And it's about the Scandinavian missionaries, relief workers, diplomats who witnessed the Armenian genocide and also tried to ameliorate the worst of the miseries after the genocide, mostly in Syria, Lebanon, etc. Yes, there was a heavy Scandinavian involvement in the Armenian genocide in that sense, as witnesses and relief workers, etc. That heavy involvement has not really translated much into public knowledge in the Scandinavian countries. That's beginning to change, but not much. And still, on the political level, especially in Denmark, it's still widely unknown that right between the Danish Parliament and the Danish Royal Library is the Danish National Archives, which holds a lot of documents about the Armenian Genocide, which I found a couple of years ago. And there's not a lot of knowledge or not a lot of willingness to know about this. It's politics.
It's part of it is something that Armenians need to do, and perhaps in some backwards sort of way, this move by the Turkish state, or not the Turkish state, if it's really just the decision of the Royal Library director, in some ways this will help raise awareness.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess I'm not the one to tell what Armenians or Armenia should do. I mean, I as a historian and some of my colleagues are trying our best to do it from a scholarly point of view. And I mean, there will be changes. Some articles and books have come out, and I'm writing a book right now on the Armenian Genocide, which will come out in Danish next year. God willing and all that, but they're supposed to be to come out. So it might actually coincide with the alternative Turkish exhibition in Copenhagen. Who knows?
Who knows? We're talking with Matthias Bjørnlund, who is a historian of the Assyrian genocide and the Armenian genocide, and as you just heard, working on a book on the Armenian genocide in Danish, and someone who's been in the midst of the controversy over the decision by the Royal Library director in Copenhagen to allow or present a denialist exhibition together with one that has been presented by both the Yerevan-based Genocide Museum as well as historians. One last question, Matthias. The fact that Turkish activists, historians signed a statement saying this is no way to do history, how has that affected the dialogue, the debate?
Well, I mean, there is no dialogue. I mean, but the debate, well, it has affected it, I would say, positively in very many ways. I mean, the director of the Royal Library, sorry, can you hear me now? Okay. The director of the Royal Library has kind of dismissed this, what you might call open letter or petition from these Turkish intellectuals, he has kind of acknowledged that they may have 1 or 2 points, but what he's basically saying is that it's my library, so I'm doing what I want to. No one's going to come here and tell me what to do. That's kind of his line of defense right now. He has had a lot of conflicting, strange arguments and a lot of lines of defenses. He's kind of dug himself into a corner right now, but I'm not sure what he's going to do. I mean, if you read his statements in Danish, they are conflicting, bewildering in very many ways, and very aggressive.
Well, let's hope that at the end of the day, what comes out of this is greater awareness in Scandinavia, Denmark particularly, about the events of 1915, as well as the involvement there of Scandinavian missionaries, relief workers, and at the same time, let's not underestimate the value of having Turkish historians and non-Turkish historians of the genocide generally, unified on this position that history is history and denial is denial. So with that, Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us on CivilNet.
And Happy New Year to you, and Merry Armenian Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you. Matthias Bjørnlund in Copenhagen on Turkish denialism, Armenian history, Armenian genocide history, and an exhibition at the Royal Library in Copenhagen. Thank you for watching CivilNet.